All right, let's get into it. We're going to be talking about a Google tool called NotebookLM. And look, if you're only using it to summarize PDFs, you are barely scratching the surface. This is not just another AI assistant. This is something that fundamentally changes how you work with your own information.
So, let's talk about the biggest problem with so many AI tools right now, right? You ask it a question and you get this beautiful, confident-sounding answer that is completely made up. We call it hallucination, and it is the ultimate deal breaker for anyone doing serious work. I mean, how can you build anything on a foundation that might just be sand?
And this is where it all clicks. This slide shows the huge difference. On one side, you've got your general AIs, the ones trained on the whole wild, messy, and sometimes just plain wrong internet. But on the other side, you've got NotebookLM. It's what we call a source-grounded model, which is a fancy way of saying it only works with the documents you give it. It's not trying to know everything in the world. It's trying to know your world perfectly.
So how does it actually pull this off? How does it stay so focused and reliable? Well, the magic is really in its architecture. So let's pull back the curtain and see what makes this thing so trustworthy.
It all comes down to a technology called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or just RAG for short. Now, the analogy here is perfect. Think of it like a walled garden. The AI physically cannot go wander off onto the public internet to find an answer. It is locked inside with only the sources you've given it. This means every single thing it says can be traced right back to a sentence in one of your documents.
And when you start using a tool like this, it really changes your whole mindset. This quote absolutely nails it. You're not just, passively jotting down notes anymore. You are actively building your own personal, searchable knowledge database. A second brain, if you want to call it that.
So now that we get the how, let's talk about the how big. Because this concept really builds into something massive. We're talking about the sheer scale and power of this new brain you're creating. It's not some little notepad, it is a full-blown knowledge engine.
And that engine, it runs on a massive 1 million token context window. So what on earth does that mean for you? Well, it means NotebookLM can read and analyze an entire book, I'm talking 150,000 words, easy, or digest over 50 different dense reports, all at the same time without ever losing track of the details. And what's really insane is that you can feed this engine almost anything. It's not just for text docs. You can just drop in a YouTube URL and boom, it transcribes and analyzes the whole video. You can upload audio files from meetings, PDFs, spreadsheets. It can even read the text inside of your photos. It takes all this scattered mess and turns it into one single, unified, smart place.
And don't worry, the platform totally scales with you. The free tier is actually super generous. You can load up to 50 sources in a single notebook. But, if you're a real power user or on a research team, the paid tiers let you expand that capacity by a whole lot, letting you build some seriously comprehensive knowledge bases. Okay, so you've built your knowledge engine. You've fed it all your stuff. Now what? Well, this is where NotebookLM stops being just a library and becomes your creative partner. We're heading into what they call the studio, which is a set of tools that turns all that raw research into actual, high-value professional stuff.
Just think about it for a second. All your scattered notes, your half-baked ideas, transcripts, random data points, all that raw, messy potential.
And with just a few clicks, you can instantly transform it into something that's polished, that's presentable, and that's ready to go. And I'm not exaggerating here. The speed is one of the most mind-blowing parts.
This table basically sums up everything we've been talking about, the key advantages. With a general AI, it's pulling from the web, it can make stuff up, and your data is probably being used for training. But with NotebookLM, the focus is only on your docs, the answers are always grounded with real citations, and your data is completely private to you. That's the foundation of trust right there. Okay, this next feature is an absolute game changer. NotebookLM can literally create a little podcast for you, where two AI hosts discuss and debate your source material. But here's the crazy part. It's not just a recording you listen to. You can actually click a join button, interrupt their conversation with your own voice, and ask them questions in real time. It turns a boring summary into an interactive conversation.
And the studio keeps going. It's seriously like having a whole production crew on standby. You need a slide deck for a presentation? Bam, done. A whiteboard video to explain a concept for social media? Easy. It can even generate infographics in a bunch of different styles, or mind maps to help you see the connections in your research.
So you might be wondering, how does all of this actually come together in the real world?
Let's walk through a super practical example to see how you can go from just a pile of information to making a real strategic impact. Let's take a classic marketing task, competitive intelligence. First, you curate. You just dump in your competitors' websites, press releases, analyst reports, whatever you have. Second, you learn. You ask it to create a comparison table of everyone's features. Third, you act. You ask a strategic question like, okay, where are the gaps in the market? And finally, you share. You generate that audio briefing we talked about for your leadership team, a process that seriously used to take days of work. You can now do it in minutes.
And this all brings us to the really big idea here. Let's zoom out for a second, because this is about way more than just one tool for one task. We're really talking about the future of how we manage knowledge, about building our own personal, AI-powered second brain.
And here's the kicker. That second brain you're building doesn't live in a silo. Thanks to the Google Gemini integration, its power stretches across the whole ecosystem. So you could be in a normal Gemini chat and literally say, hey, answer this question but use the information from my Project X notebook. It's incredible.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Every single document you add, every source you save, it's not just for a one-off project. You're building a long-term compounding asset, a personal knowledge base that just gets smarter and more valuable over time, ready for Google's best AI to use on your behalf.
So as we wrap this up, the final thought is pretty simple. The technology is here and it's ridiculously powerful. The only real question left is, what are you going to do with it? What kind of unique expertise, what personal library, what powerful new knowledge are you going to build with your second brain?